So it's been a while since you guys have seen this R33 on the channel, and unfortunately we have some sad news. So let's get into it today and see what happened. Did a wire get chewed? Did we get a freaking rat? That's not supposed to be looking at you. We're gonna need to take the whole motor out. If we need to use it for any filming purposes, that this is a Tomei 2.8 bottom end. This car hasn't been on the channel for quite some time. We did enjoy taking this car out. We went to Rodney's 90s Forever studio shoot / open house for OC Studio. We actually let Craig Lieberman borrow this car and take it to Fuel Fest. You guys may have seen it out there with our banner. He drove it from our shop to his home, to Irwindale Speedway, back to home, back to our shop. He said it ran flawlessly. It was actually a really good running car. At the time, we also didn't have the AC connected because when we got the car, it had actually already shredded the belt. So we're assuming that in Japan, when they were using the car, it shredded the belt when they probably did a high boost pull with the AC on, or the compressor got stuck and it just shredded the belt. That's something we're gonna tackle at a much later date now because of what we're dealing with. We decided, hey, let's organize the shop a little bit. Let's get some photos for our website because we're constantly trying to make that website better so you guys can see what we have. We were thinking about offering some of these cars for rental for like music shoots, video shoots, movies, and they could just be backdrop cars. These are not supposed to be action used cars, but they were just gonna be backdrop cars. So that was our plan. We decided, hey, let's move the shop around. We have a free day. It was probably, I think it was a holiday, so like the streets were dead around here. And we're like, screw it, let's take all the cars out of the shop, clean up, reorganize, and put them back away. So we decided to pull this out, and unfortunately, for some freaking reason, it stalled out. We're driving, it's barely warm. The car isn't being revved out. Nothing is happening out of the ordinary. I've driven this car before. I've taken it to 7,500 RPM. I've had zero issues. I'm sure Craig did the same thing because we told him, hey, it's on 110 octane. It's been on the dyno, revving to 8,000 RPM. There shouldn't be a problem. So we go drive it, pull it out, it stalls. We're like, shit, what the hell is this? So we went through like your standard diagnostics, right? Do you have spark? Do you have fuel? Did anything get disconnected? I mean, it's been sitting for 6 months. Did a wire get chewed? Did we get a freaking rat? Kawabunga. No, none of that. We did like your usual starter fluid direct to the intake manifold just to see if you'd get an explosion. Nope, none of that either. So we're like, shit, what do we do? So let's cut to that footage to see what we did and try to figure out what's going on with this engine. First things first, baby, let's see the damage. Okay, where are you? Oh, that spark plug hole looks terrible too. So we have some pieces of stuff in cylinder 1. There's that one. There, oh, look at that. That's not supposed to be looking at you. Yeah, you don't want that. Nobody likes that. Probably a valve. So my guess currently, damn it, sorry. Try to get one more look at it. Where is it? Let's do this. This fucking pencil camera. There we go. There you go. How do you put a quarter in a spark plug hole? So James was taking the spark plugs out so we could do a compression test, and yeah, come to find out, cylinder 1, to get the spark plug out was kind of mushroomed, so it was having a hard time coming out. And that makes sense because it was getting beaten up by a piece of valve hitting the bottom of the spark plug, mushroomed the threads a little bit. So the cylinder head threads are also a little bit damaged. That's cylinder 1. So the other 5 cylinders look okay. There's no scarring or dropped valves in those areas, but realistically, we're gonna need to take the whole motor out, pull the head off. If the cylinder walls are scored and damaged, then we're gonna have to go ahead and rip apart the entire bottom end.
Now me and the mad scientist gotta rip apart the block.
Re-hone it, rebore it, hopefully not have to sleeve it if it's still within spec. This is, based on the numbers that are on the block, an N1 base block. We'll really be able to see the parts that are finally inside this motor that we were told at auction. When when we got the spec sheet from Japan, our buyer in Japan, the things I could see obviously in the photos is that it has a HKS V-cam on that intake side, the Nismo plenum, ARC radiator. It had all the right goodies in the bay. And I'm like, hey, I need this translated. We need to figure out what's actually in this motor. They said at the time that the engine was actually sort of hurt. They didn't really elaborate or explain as to what is actually going on, but they did indicate that this is a 2.8 liter. It was part of the RH9 club in Japan, which is a famous drag racing, like street drag racing setup. Yeah, it's supposed to be a Tomei 2.8. I think it's a Tomei 2.8 because under the wrinkle black is this super distinct hue of that metallic blue that Tomei paints all their crate long blocks on the valve covers. They generally ship them out as 2.8s and they are painted Tomei blue. On the underside of this wrinkle black finish, you could really see a blue tone to it. And I'm assuming it's a Tomei based 2.8 bottom end, but we never really knew. So now that this is hurt, we're gonna go ahead and take it apart and actually find out once and for all. And while we're doing that, it gives us more freedom to clean things up. So catch can will be either modified, cleaned up. The oil cooler system and all that shit that's done properly, we're gonna go ahead and leave. This is on, I think it's a HKS FCON V Pro, along with their HKS cam controller, HKS EVC boost controller, full HKS stuff everywhere. The V-cam, the turbo setup, the manifold, a whole bunch of HKS stuff. A lot of that's gonna be changed. I do wanna keep the manifold and the turbo setup the way it's set up right now because it all fits, it was working properly. We might modify the downpipe so you don't have freaking EGT plus 2 O2 sensors. We only need one wideband O2 sensor on the new ECU because I actually already purchased a Link G4 Extreme for this car. But modify the intake pipe so we don't have this excess nipple sitting here. Probably clock the turbo housing, modify this intercooler pipe as well. Again, if this is coming out, we're just gonna do the things that we think we should do to make this engine bay better, more serviceable, and just more appealing to the eye when you pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
So we have the tendency to essentially snowball affect every project we do in this warehouse, and I have a feeling that this is no different. I mean, yeah, I'm just scared that like I pull the engine out and then everyone's like, oh, it's like, I don't know, about a week's worth of time to paint the whole bay. It's like, fuck, dude, now like ABS has to come out, wiper motor, all the lines, all electrical box, every bracket has to come out to get this engine bay repainted. And that's my biggest fear, is that we do that and then it just elongates the deadline to the project. And I really just want to get to the final like say of what's going on with this engine and be like, okay, can we save it and how quickly? If we can't, let's source another long block. We could throw it in here, make the car run again if we need to use it for any filming purposes, because there's been a lot of stuff going on lately. And we could make use of the car again if we just have a stock RB26, just base tune it, not for power, just for drivability, so we could take it to and from each location. Because we don't have the lift space currently, I want to go ahead and take apart some of the pieces that will allow me to be able to check the timing and get ready to pull the transmission and then yank the motor out. But until we have that lift space, this is what I'm going to be doing. Get these things out of the way now. Dude, that sucks. Fucking dumb. All right. We haven't even fucking started yet, dude. God. At least it wasn't me that broke it. Oh well, leave that in there for now. All right. Bitch. Don't put that in there. All the beeps. All the bleep bleep bleeps. James is gonna be like, dude, why do you cuss so much? Hold on, let me put the clamp so you can only get it from the fucking underside, dude. So you can't put this pipe on and off. Oh, you bitch, come on. Stay on there. Yes. Oh, there goes my watch. So if I get the clutch fan out, I then have access to the crank pulley, so I can remove the upper timing cover, cam angle sensor, put the bottom on timing, and see what the hell happened up here. Because, like I said, I think, oh shit. James, you bitch. He broke some stuff too. I think the timing slipped because this isn't the first time that we've ever encountered an RB slip timing and damage something. So the last time this happened, I was literally just starting the car not clutched in, so I wasn't putting any pressure on the crank, and it slipped timing on startup. F***ed up a whole bunch of valves. This is worse. I'd rather have bent valves than fucking broken valves laying in the piston. It's pretty dry up in there. Oh, there goes that clip. Okay, cool. At least it's gone. That's this thing. Sick. Okay. Okay. On fan. There we go. Oh, that works. Okay. Oh. Nah, it's all good. It's just, dude, this thing hasn't been moved in.
No, they glue. They become.
Yeah, with the.
Yeah, that actually came off better than I thought.
But it is corroded and it's got some wetness to it. It's damp. Shouldn't be damp. That's an Allen.
Has that ever been off since
This?
it's been in our possession?
No.
No, the cam.
Oh, no,
sensor.
no. Nope.
No. So we didn't even know that it had HKS cam gears, although I assumed it would. Yeah.
Well, we don't know what motor, what 2.8 it is. Is it an HKS 2.8 now? We have HKS cam gears, but that could just be the head because it's V-cam.
There you go.
It's not a purple belt.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, because that hose being in the way, like maybe you could come straight forward, but the hose is in the way?
No, oh, there we go. It rests behind the water pump pulley.
You want me to cut this and
Got
give
it.
you some
There we go.
extra wiggle room?
It's coming. There we go. Oh, and that bolt stayed. Okay, let's put it on timing. Yeah, for VTC.
Yeah. How is that?
That's what this is for.
No. But
It's just like a,
so
there's an oil drive there
so
to the back of the cam gear. If you look at a 1JZ VVTi or 2J VVTi, it's like the same concept.
Oil pressure. So this
This is the solenoid, this is the pressure
so
line.
it's got a channel.
Yeah.
That enters in here.
See.
Oh. Yeah, I have never seen an exploded view of how VCam actually works.
Okay, let's see.
So mechanically, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we're 2 teeth off of the timing marks on the intake side right now.
But that's assuming it's top dead center, right? Like that's assuming there's no adjustment
On this.
on. Is
Which
there, any,
there
right?
kind of is.
Yeah.
Like, well, on a 1J VVTi, you need to clock it in one direction and put it on there, because then the oil system and the sensor and the ECU does the rest.
Got it.
So there is a position that it needs to be in, but I mean,
Start position.
yeah. So it's lined up to this one right now. So that's 2 teeth off where we should be. Or vice versa, or that one's too far, 2 teeth. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, you're trying to get more range.
Just a bunch of little shards. You see anything?
Nothing.
Oh, I see it.
Do ya?
Come this way. Okay, no, go back. Right there. Yeah, I can see it.
Is it standing up?
Yeah.
Like
It's
which
wedged
way?
in there,
Like on its
like-
side or?
It's like wedged in there on the piston.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like what I'm hitting right now
Yeah.
is the valve in the piston.
And it's probably wedged.
It's
into-
wedged in the
into
piston.
The piston. You know what that means? That means
Dude.
head service is screwed.
Taking a car apart, this has been the least amount of fun.
Well, you can be
But
hopeful
it's all good.
that the cylinder walls are.
That's all I hope that, and the head, we can get another head. Whatever.
Yeah.
We think the valve is stuck in the piston. Pointed diagonally, because the way that the valves like meet the piston, it's in that diagonal motion. And when I put a magnet in there, I was trying to get some like shards or see if I could actually move the valve, because when I was trying to put it on top dead center with the manual ratchet, it wouldn't meet at top dead center. I kept hitting a wall. I was only able to match up this cam gear, but looking at the bottom of the crankshaft, I was still about 15 degrees away from top dead center, and the intake cam gear was actually 2 teeth away from meeting its timing mark on the rear portion of the valve cover plate. So that shield has the timing marks on the intake and exhaust cam gear for mainly all the RBs. And looking at the crankshaft pulley showing me where top dead center should be, I was really far away from that mark still. and I hit a wall inside, which means that the piston with the valve stuck in it is making contact with the cylinder head. So I'm kind of stuck here until we can get this on the lift and really start tearing into it and pull all the rest of the parts off of it. Take the harness off. I'd like to replace the engine harness anyway because this is an older setup. It has a jumper harness from the factory harness to the HKS FCON V Pro. It has a sub harness for the HKS V-Cam outside the solenoid sensor and then the positioning sensor on the inside of the valve cover. The new engine harness from Wiring Specialties will have all of that 100% incorporated and loomed directly to the ECU. We also will be getting rid of the HKS EVC controller and the redundancy of gauges we no longer need because we have a CAN-based ECU system. This car does have the climate control moved into the center console, so I have a full doubled-in space to go ahead and put the power tune screen there that reads all the sensors that the ECU is seeing already. So there's no need for like any redundancy of sensors. All right, so now that you've seen the carnage that we anticipate is going on in this engine, at least in the cylinder head, we're not sure how damaged the cylinder walls are or the piston or anything else for that matter. We really need to yank this motor out and get a true feeling of what we're dealing with. We're gonna pull the block apart, pull the head off, the intake manifold, pull everything out. We wanted to clean this engine bay to begin with anyway. So with that being said, we are going to a complete new engine harness. This is old. It's been heat soaked, it's crusty. Outside of the coil pack harness that we changed to have the PRP R35 coil setup, the entire rest of the harness has been patched into, tapped into, added for all the gauges and accessories. On this HKS T04Z Turbo, I really, this is nostalgic. This is the freaking pinnacle of early 2000s RB26 or RB 2.8 tuning. And that's the other thing. Verify that this is a Tomei 2.8 bottom end. We know it's an N1 block based on the casting, but is this really a 2.8 stroker setup? With that, also, we want to keep some of the nostalgia and how this car was built back in the early 2000s. There is updated center sections that are available for the HKS T04Z turbines. This is originally a Garrett center section anyway to begin with, so I think I can upgrade that with a GTX 3582 or 84R center section to fit that compressor and turbine housing. Of course, I love E85.
Corn juice! Let me tell you about it.
Danny and everybody else always gives me shit because of how much I stand for E85 and how good it does for cars to make power easily and safely. The downside is for cars that sit for a long time, like this one was, is that you could get sediment, breakdown of the fuel lines, so you really need to keep an eye on your in-tank fuel filters, your surge tank filters, your pre-fuel rail filter, all that shit can get gunked up with. Essentially, it gets into this sandy material, which will then cause you pressure drop directly into the rail, lean status, but with all the new ECUs and the way Danny tunes our cars, there's protections to go against all that, and honestly, we're gonna be safe. Some of the other things we want to clean up, this does have HKS V-Cam, so that means that it also has the additional HKS variable timing controller. On top of it not being controlled directly by the ECU, it's controlled by its own separate little, essentially boost controller. It's that same size, but we already have HKS EVC boost controller. Now we have the timing controller. We have a Greddy turbo timer. There's this hodgepodge of stuff in the interior that really clutters it up for me, but what would you guys do? Do you leave all that nostalgic stuff in there, wired in, just so that it's working and you could look at it and reminisce of the early 2000s tuning? Or being that we're on a Link ECU with a completely fresh harness, everything is tied into the harness. You literally need one CAN gauge that could read everything that your ECU is reading. I vote for that way because I just like the simplicity of it. I only want to see the Nismo cluster. All that shit works already, so keep that. One CAN gauge and you have all the data you need. The Link ECU has the ability to log and you can play it back and see what's going on if you have a weird misfire or anything like that. So that's really going to be a great addition to this car. 1300cc injectors, the Radium in-tank dual pump in-tank setup. We're going to run their complete GTR fuel line kit that increases the size. It's a full PTFE E85 safe fuel line. So we already have a bunch of stuff planned for this car. We just didn't know when we were gonna do it. All that stuff has already been on the shelf for a year, but we were waiting for the right time to be like, hey, when do we do this? When do we tear this car down? When do we kill it? Like, it f***ing killed itself. So we have to figure out what the hell happened. So we're gonna go ahead and yank the motor. We know the clutch is good because that has a new twin disc 10-inch Clutchmaster setup that we had to put in before we went and tested on the dyno because the original Exity twin disc was slipping. So let's tear this out, get all the new shit in here, clean up the engine bay, make it all nice and pretty again. And while it's out, maybe we clear coat the whole bay. Make it look as fresh inside as it does on the outside. That'll require an extra total week's worth of work in terms of unpinning everything, wrapping it, prepping the bay, clear coating everything, and then put all the nice and new shiny bits in once and for all. Repolish the ARC radiator, repolish the intercooler core because we're already there, repolish the catch can, get a new windshield washer overflow canister so that way it's like the nice new Nissan white plastic, not this old yellow haggard shit. Or do away with it or put another canister somewhere else. But we really want to clean up this engine bay to match the outside of this car. This is one of the best street R33 GTRs I've laid eyes on and had the pleasure of driving. So this thing's absolutely awesome. It deserves the world, so we're gonna give it that. So check back in with us later while we pull this motor out and get it going. All right, that's gonna do it for the R33 this time, guys. Unfortunately, we do have to yank this heart out of the beast and tear it down, find out what's ultimately wrong with it, and make a better plan of action in terms of what we're gonna do with the long block. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys later. Welcome back to the channel. Our R33 has been sitting, R33.
R33, dude.
Fucking shit, dude. What's up, dog?
Oh, we got intruders.
Ah!
We got intruders.
Bubs! Hi, Bubs. Hi, Bigsy. Are you guys leaving? Are you leaving?